Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. This is a show where we aim to educate, inspire and entertain through real life stories and interviews from people in the Scottish property community.
As always, thanks for listening and give us a follow on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to join us at our monthly networking events on the first Wednesday of every month. Tickets are available on our website. So without further ado, we'll just cut straight into this week's podcast.
So welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So this is exciting to have you on. Nick won't know this because Nick never leaves the Glasgow Scottish Property Podcast Network events. Had to put that in right at the start. But Gemma is the new co-host up in Aberdeen. So
yeah,
well
exciting.
done. Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. And do you know what? I used to have a good excuse for not leaving Glasgow because I used to have a Nissan Leaf and it only does about 90 miles. So that used to be my kind of get out. But now, yeah, I don't really have an excuse. So I'll need to come up.
So you're coming up.
I keep saying, Trish keeps saying as well, come on up. I've got nothing against Aberdeen at all.
Are you sure?
Just a 1 3 hour drive.
I'm from Inverness originally, for God's sake. That's
I used to live there.
Did you?
Yeah, love Inverness. My favourite city. I've lived in Liverpool, Inverness, Aberdeen, and Inverness is by far the nicest.
I love it for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then
There's
a reason why I left at 18.
Yeah.
But it is beautiful. I've got to say,
Yeah.
like my mum, the view she has from her house, and there's a lot to be said now that I'm older.
You
appreciate the views more, don't you?
I could definitely see myself, wanting that kind of more relaxed, chilled nature lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Finding snakes.
That's it. Did you hear that?
No.
Or did you see that on my Instagram? We came across an adder, a proper full-grown snake, when we were out on a walk at the weekend. We were just up in the Trossachs.
My God.
Aye.
I would have freaked out. I'm not an animal person.
Up by Rowerdennon, up in one of the paths there.
Okay.
And I stepped over it, and then my wife's behind me walking on the path. She's like, what the fuck? I'm like, what? Look behind me, there's a fucking snake there.
Oh my God, that's so terrific.
Maya was freaking out when she's seen the story. She's like, are they in Scotland? And I'm like, yeah, in Scotland.
the last person to die was 1975, and it was I think it was a 5-year-old boy with shots, and I do have a 5-year-old that was walking behind me.
Wow. Oh no.
Well, anyway.
We have set the scene because I think this conversation is going to go like this.
Yeah.
Gemma's got a cool story. I'm going to learn so much about her as well. And you like to talk.
I do. I love it. I love a chat. Yeah. Much to my boyfriend's annoyance.
So I hope you're nice and relaxed when you listen to this episode because it might go on for a couple of hours. But tell people about your kind of, I was about to say background, but you just said you've had loads of careers. So let's start. I don't know where we're going to start because I'm not sure it's going to go. The careers and what brought you into, I suppose,
what we do now.
An interest in property, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have done very many jobs over the years. I'm 39 also. I'm going to be 40 in October. Also scared. Also may need to get ripped because I was like, oh my God, I've get to 40 already. So for myself, I never really knew what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to make money. So I've never been scared to say that, I just believe that when you're rich, you can do so many more things. So for me, I just felt that not so much when I was younger, but now it's more about having lots of money to live the life that we want to live, but also to help other people. I'm a big believer that your life is better when you're helping other people as well. So it's just a big factor for me. But when I was younger, it was all about, I want to be rich. I had friends that were all about having babies and getting married, and I didn't care for that. I just wanted to make money. So from a young age, I had some sort of entrepreneurial thing about me. I looked at, is it Clean Easy? Yeah. I looked at that when I was really young. I did Avon. I did all those sorts of things. I started working in windows. I worked at my dad's bookies. I did all sorts of those kind of jobs. And then when I was 19, I did a HNC in social sciences, which is psychology, sociology, politics. And then I became a family support worker for children and families. So in the social work, so I worked for those for a couple of years. And then I was like, this is great, but I didn't feel like I was actually helping anybody. I felt like I was witnessing, the sort of the worst parts of our world, and nobody was getting any help. Social workers are tied. They're not really helping anyone. And at that time, I was young and selfish and thought, I just want to go and make money. So,
see about getting rich and making money. What was it? What's the lure there for you? What is the kind of attraction of making loads of money and getting rich?
Because I saw having loads of money and getting rich as freedom.
Yeah.
And that's what, when I was younger, that's
Freedom
what
of
I
choice
saw.
Or freedom to,
I think freedom to just live how I wanted to live. Like, my family background is like my mum and dad split when I was 8, and my dad was wealthier and my mum wasn't. So my mum was sort of like on the breadline in the council estate, and my dad was wealthy. And it was like, or that's certainly how I viewed it when I was younger. Yeah. So I had both worlds.
You almost thought you had your own rich dad, poor dad.
Yeah. Really, really weird.
What did your dad do?
So my dad was in the family business, which, this is really complicated, but my dad was part of our family business, which was run by my mum's dad, but they had split up.
Right.
So in my mum and dad's divorce, my mum's dad took his son-in-law's side and fucked off his daughter. So there's like Arabic in there. So we, like, my grand is like half Arabic. So like their last name is Arif. And we were like, is there maybe this thing about, where they kind of favour the lads over the women and that sort of thing. So that's very historical.
What kind of business is that?
Bookies. So they had bookmakers, North Scotland. It's called Scott Scoop the Bookies. And then they also had pubs and hotels.
And you worked in that when you were younger?
No, I've never worked in a bar. I've never worked in a bar.
All these jobs you had, you never worked in a bar?
Yeah, no. Never worked in a bar.
You did too much drinking now.
Yeah. I was on the other side, sticking vodka in my eye and stuff, which I have done before, which I wouldn't suggest. So, yeah, I sort of, like, my dad's family, it's, again, my mum's, like, biological family, but we saw it was my dad's family. They had that wealth, and my mum never. So I lived with my mum from when I was 12, and my dad before that for, like, a few years. So I got to see the difference between the two. And my mum lived a life where she would have to walk home from Asda with the buggies and, all the Asda bags round the side of the buggies. And I saw her struggle. And I think that's why I was like, I don't want to be like that. I love my mum, but, I didn't want to be like that. And I just thought, well, I have to create my own wealth. I wasn't consciously thinking that at a younger age, but I just always never had a problem saying I want money.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
So I'm the eldest of 4. Myself and my next brother are to my dad, and then, as I said, mum and dad divorced, and then we have another brother and sister, like 10 and 12 years younger. So there's 4 of us all together, but we're different dads. So that was until we sort of, I was 19, 20. My auntie then died, so I then started looking after her sons when I was, I want to say 19. So she died of cancer, and then there was nobody to look after her boys. So
what
myself,
age were the boys?
So they were I think 13 and 14.
Oh, it's tragic.
And I was 19. So myself and my boyfriend at the time started looking after them for about 2 years, and then that sort of stopped, and then I went offshore. So I started working offshore as a stewardess.
Following the money offshore for that, buddy.
Yeah.
And was that the motivator for offshore work? Was it the money?
Yeah, because I realised at that point that I'm not getting anywhere with the social work. I don't feel like I'm helping anybody. I don't feel it's satisfactory. It's also not a lot of money, so I'm off. So I went offshore, and then we're just speaking about cleaning. I hate cleaning.
You went over as a stewardess.
Yeah, I went as a stewardess. The stuff that guys leave in sinks, let me tell you, is gross.
So what do you need to do when you're offshore as a stewardess? What's that involve?
You got to clean. You've got to clean the pubes out the sink. You've got to
mainly, obviously, it's a pretty much heavily dominated male environment, right?
Yeah,
So
I've been on a rig where there was 200 men and I'm the only girl. Right. But there is women that work off there, but it's predominantly
How is that environment for a female? I mean, I presume it's got better now, but when was that you did that?
So I was 21 when I went offshore.
Well, how many years ago? So
I'm 39.
Oh, right. Okay. So back then, I mean, we're still, still be the kind of macho male environment and all that.
Yeah,
and the kind of looking down on women and stuff like that. Obviously, it's changed now, but that must have been quite tough.
Yeah, like I remember one guy, so I then eventually became a radio operator because I couldn't do the stewardess thing. I remember a really good friend of mine was just like, you're shit. You're too slow, like you take ages. So I was like, yeah, I am. And then, you know, I'm a little bit clever. I should go and like figure out what else to do. So I went and did my GMDSS, which is a radio operator tickets. So I started working as a radio operator / heli admin. And I was on this rig with this guy who had been there for 30 years on the same rig. And he was so against women working offshore, just hated them. And it didn't help that we shared an office and I was a mouthy, young, pain in the ass, you will fucking put up with me, you know, like I'm here to ruin your day type of girl. So, and also I sort of like changed the way that everybody was sleeping in their rooms and this guy being in a room for a long, long time. And I was like, nah, it doesn't work like that. It's better this way. And all that sort of stuff. So we just clashed massively. Right. And he just was really old school, you know, and I remember though, he'd been there for 30 years and the company, they were called Taka, he got a watch. And I was like, what the fuck? A watch for 30 years of service. And I was like, I just knew this is great for right now, but it's not long term.
I mean, it's all right when you were younger.
Yeah, no responsibilities as well. I think especially for being a female, like if you want kids and things like that. And that's why I eventually stopped working offshore because I thought I want to make as much money as I am here, but onshore before I have kids. So that's sort of like what then got me into recruitment onshore. So I went into recruitment. I did that for a few years and then I had a baby. And then when I had her, when she was 5 months old, I was like, this maternity pay. What is this? It's ridiculous. So that's when I discovered Forever Living. So Forever Living is a network marketing company and they sell aloe vera based products, including weight loss. And I thought, let's give it a bash. Like I was a bit fat after putting, you know, baby weight on and stuff. I did this 9-day cleanse, lost this weight and was like, I could sell this shit.
So it worked.
Wow. Yeah. Like I lost 9 pounds in 9 days. And I was like, whoa, check me. So like took all these before and afters, stick them on social media and that was it. Like started making money, started building team, you know, showing other people how to do this. And I thought I have found my calling. But for me, the biggest thing of the whole thing was being introduced to network marketing, introduced me into the world of self-help, self-development, personal development, The Secret, the follow-on book from The Secret, the sort of whole world of you don't need to live this life that you're in right now. Like you can change it. And up until that point, I'd never even... It wasn't even a thing. Yeah, I'd never even considered it. So discovering all of that, plus as well...
Did they give you training in multi-level marketing companies that help you on mindset, personal development?
Yeah. It's wildly massive.
This is a really... I think we should spend a bit of time on this because I think that there's quite a crossover between network marketing and property, people who get into property as well. Mm-hmm. And... because a lot of people who get in property, I was one of them. I did Google search, you know, in my early days, you know, how to get rich and, you know, how to make easy money and all the rest of it. And obviously, when you do that, all these things pop up, including network marketing and all the rest of it. I haven't really seen that much of it lately pop up in my feed. I don't know whether it's just like Facebook's just learning my behaviours better, but I used to get them all the time, and you would see these people go to these big like conferences, and it was like going to like Las Vegas and all the rest of it, and everyone was like G'd up and pumped up and all the rest of it. How does this actually work? So see, when you have to go on these trips to these big conferences and it looks like such a flash lifestyle because you're going to these exotic places, do you need to pay or do they pay for you to go, or how does that work?
They pay for you to go.
They pay for you to go.
You have to achieve that though.
You have to earn your place to go.
You have to earn by the volume that you do in your business. Business. So, you know, like you have to achieve a certain level of, I suppose, what you would call their currency. And when you achieve that currency, then they pay for you to go. And they paid for us to go to South Africa, Dubai. Like my daughter's second birthday, we were in South Africa, all paid for. My sister was there as well.
You must have built this up quite quickly then. Quickly, because you see a lot of success stories or portrayed success stories on network marketing, but it's like, it's always, 10 years later, they're now getting success.
How achievable actually is it? Being truthful, right? How... out of all the people who get involved and that you recruit, because that all obviously benefits you. The more people that you get in, the more income you get, isn't it? That's how it works.
That's exactly how it works,
Like, I mean, I don't want to say pyramid scheme, but...
Well, my partner loves to call it a pyramid scheme because I'm like, it's not a fucking pyramid scheme. The pyramid schemes are illegal. But he's like, oh, remember that pyramid scheme you used to do?
It's a legalised pyramid scheme.
How many people, like, and what does it take to become successful in that? How much were you earning?
So my first full tax year, I earned 70 grand.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, but I think, to answer your question about how many people, not a lot. I don't know percentages. My guess would be like 5% maybe. Maybe even less than that. But I still don't know the formula to the types. Is it types of personalities? No, because I've also, I'm obviously like quite out there and I've got a bubbly personality. Like, I have no problem speaking to people. Like, we have this thing called prospecting. So this is where you would speak to a stranger in the street or just speak to anybody about your business and try and explain to them how it works and see if it's for them. So I would prospect everybody. And I also went to a strip club once and prospected some of the strippers.
What does that mean when you're saying prospect? You're selling the products, like the stuff.
For me, it was selling the business.
Selling the business, because that's where the money is.
I just think people go wrong then. Do you think they try and sell the products and not?
It's totally about product. So I could be quite good. I think I could earn 70 grand a year because I'm fat just now.
You just want to go to the strippers and try and sell.
Yeah, that's more like it. Yeah.
No, she's saying like you need to be fat first of all, then you need to get thin.
That's not what I said.
I've already got. Was it not? I thought you said you had to do it before and after.
No. You don't have to do that. It's just that's how I got into it. That's how I got into it. Yeah.
So I was going to say,
Jesus, crucified for network marketing.
I could do it before just now. I don't know about the after. At 43, I don't know if I'm capable of getting thin.
You have to work at it.
But it's always like I don't know. Like people, I had a couple of times people pitched it to me, Arbonne and these other ones as well. And it was like, I just I don't see. And do you know what got me was, right? Again, this is, maybe I'm being unfair here because it worked for you, but it was like, you could have your own business. You can have this business. You can be in control. For me, like, I don't see that as a business. Mm-hmm. That's not a business to me. As an asset that is run by, you've got a manager in there, you've got staff, you've got a team. You can sell that business. Who's going to buy that? Do you know what I mean? That's not business for me.
Well, I think people can buy them, but I also get where you're coming from. For me, I was 29 or 30, I think, when I first started it, and I had no previous experience of business. And I did call it a business, and I did have an accountant, and I did have all those aspects of a business, but I didn't have staff, and it was team. But you're very reliant on those people making money for you to make money. And that was the part that eventually I didn't like about it.
Right.
And also it was great for me whilst I was a young single mum, because I was a single mum she was 13 months old when me and her dad split up. And so having money at that point, like going through that process is very difficult. But to go through that process broke is even harder. So the fact that I had money and I was self-sufficient, that was one side of it ticked off. So I was okay. So for me, that whole aspect of being a successful, earning decent money and being a single parent, that was all good for me. And it really put me in a good steading. And also at the same time, because I was then involved in a lot of personal development, I was able to get over that situation a lot faster than I think your average Joe who maybe doesn't have access to personal development.
And what were you earning what was your best year then? You said 70k.
So in terms of years, I probably wouldn't go by years. I would say that the best month that I ever had was I made like 7 or 8 grand in 1 month.
Wow.
And yeah, I was just
and why? So if you're earning 7 to 8 grand a month, this is the question. I think you touched on it there just before you moved on to it, but why are you not still doing that? Because,
so then what happened was I was doing that for a few years. And then when I started I suppose being self-employed, we all know you have fluctuations. And what network marketing, and I think this is where they kind of fail a little bit, is what they don't teach you is the bones of business. They teach you how to recruit people. They teach you how to sell products. They teach you to be a product of the product. They teach you how to, you're just recommending stuff. And that's how I did it. And that's how I taught others. But they didn't teach you what to do with your money. They didn't teach you how to invest. Like they didn't teach you all that side of it. And that was the part that I did really badly because I'm a spender. So, I would have money and then it would all go away. And then I would have situations where I would earn less that month and I'd start freaking out. Oh my God, I can't sustain this. And so I then sort of like stopped working the business as much and more concentrated on like the team that I had and put all of my efforts into these people, because I loved being at the front of the stage and showing people how to do this and being a part of their lives. That part I loved, but I wasn't also continually recruiting more people. Had I done that, I still would have been earning money to this day, but I just lost the love. And then things started like died a death a bit more. I started failing in my business. I wasn't earning as much money. I wasn't doing all the, sort of like the daily method of operation that I should have been doing. So I started to like have less money, teams started to drop off. And then I thought, wow, I'm absolutely fucking skint. Like I'm going to have to go and get a job. So I had to get a job for about a year where I was then selling like credit card machines to businesses. So I'd walk into the businesses and stuff. So I did that for like a year.
That was a sales role, effectively.
That was a sales role. And do you know what? It was so good for me because as horrible as it was to put my child, who was at this point 3, into full-time childcare, which I fucking hated. I hated it. And that's why I quickly got out of it.
Why did you hate that?
I was just leaving her there every day.
Sounds great to me.
Now I'm like, see ya.
Well, yeah. You were attached there then.
Yeah, I liked her then. No, she's a sassy little 10-year-old now, but when she was 3, she was so cute.
No,
and like,
I know. You want to have that time.
Yeah, like, and the whole point of me becoming self-employed was so that I could be the school Gates mum. Yeah. Now she fucking walks to school on her own and I'm like, get out the door as quick as possible. But at the time, that's all I cared about. Yeah. And so like that was really hard. I find that really difficult. But being in that role again and being in like a full-time job, and again, it was male dominated. Like I was in a team of about, I think maybe 8 lads and just me. And I'll always remember my boss, who's a great guy. He said to me, the sort of like, not the owner, but I can't remember what he was some sort of like high up management in this company. And he said he wasn't keen to take you on because you're a single mum. And I was like, why? And he was like, I think he just saw all these issues. And I ended up being like the top performer of this team. And then I got into like this elite team and stuff like that. And I felt saying, fuck you. Like, just because I'm a single mum doesn't mean that I'm incapable of being good at my job.
Performing,
yeah. But what that did for me, because I did so well, was it gave me that confidence back. And I'd gone from really worrying and stressing about my situation. How can I put this roof over this kid's head? And how am I going to feed her? And that confidence came back. And then I was able to go back into like my business and build it again. Then lockdown came.
Did you go back into Forever again?
Forever. I'm still part of it. Right. I just wasn't like, it wasn't doing as well.
Yeah.
And
then, were they holding you up on stage as like the kind of, you're the poster girl sort of thing?
Yeah.
It's quite a bit of pressure that comes with that as well, because people are looking at you going, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And you're like trying to kind of like, you're trying to keep the dream alive for these people.
And for yourself.
Yeah.
Like I think the pressure I put on myself to continue to be like that was probably quite a lot. But I had a story as well. Like I had a chaotic childhood and then a chaotic life up until that point. So when people, I like openly talk about stuff. So when people got wind of that, that's why I was probably not propelled, but I was not bad at speaking. And also my story was so like, what the fuck? That they were like, well, she can achieve it. And I used to say this, if I can achieve it, why can't you? If I can achieve it in this crazy life, why can't you? And so that was like a big thing that, I was quite often at the front of the stage, and not massively, like not all the time, but I was quite involved in Scotland and stuff like that. And then they have the top 10 Forever business owners in Scotland, and I was number 1 the year of COVID. So in 2020, by 2021, I'd hit number 1, and then I was like, what now? Like I just was like, what? I've just not that I'd achieved monetary wise what I wanted to do, but I'd achieved, like, I really wanted to be number 1. I don't know why, because then when I got there, I was like, oh.
Are you 100% away from that now, or are you still involved?
I still have an account, and I still order products for a couple of customers that have loved the stuff, and I still use it myself. But no, I don't recruit people anymore, and I don't. I think it's phenomenal for a certain period of time in my life, and I think I would always say to people, if you need some sort of experience in doing stuff like that, go for it. I do believe in it. I just it's just not for me right now. I find something else, which is property.
Yeah.
And that's how I came into property, because
it's a good transition. So.
Yeah, like I felt like there has to be another way where I don't have to work as hard, which is really naive. That I don't have to work unsociable hours. So I obviously had a daughter and was on my own, so I would work when she was at school, and then I would work at night. So put her to bed, then I would work at night. And I would feel like I would get a second wind, and then I was knackered, and then I was like, there has to be a better way to make money. And just as I started to think about that, I knew I was going to come into about 30 grand of inheritance, kind of like through these different sort of channels. So I was like, I've got 30 grand coming in. What can I do with this money? I don't want to squander it because I'm somebody who will absolutely blow money. So what can I do?
What are you spending your money on, by the way? You said you're a big spender. What is
like
it?
Holidays. Yeah, like not stuff for myself. I'm not into like designer handbags or shoes or anything like that. It's like experiences. Yeah, like let's go and blow 10 grand in Mexico. Like, fuck it.
Aye.
Like, yeah, I'm really bad for that.
Right, okay. What's the word?
Spontaneous.
Yeah. Just like literally you're online 1 minute and you've picked the holiday.
Yeah.
Not even looking at it.
Like 2 days ago, my partner and I were speaking about, I said to him, like, we live in an estate at the minute. And I was like, I would love to live in the country. And I said, when the kids are old enough, let's go and live in the country. And I said, would you like to do that? Thinking he would say no. And he was like, no, I would. The following day, I got an ASPC notification for this house in the country. And I was like, I can Airbnb that for 5-6 years. Get these kids to fuck and we'll go out to the country. Phoned him up and I was like, I've just sent you a link. And he was like, are you thinking about moving here? I just said this to you yesterday. And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Dangerous.
Yeah. So... But that's how I got into property. So I came across an advert on Facebook for education.
Right.
And it was like, you don't need money to build property.
So you're thinking you can blow this 30 grand and
yeah. Oh, cool. I'll go on holiday and then I'll use other folks' money. So when I watched that advert, did like a 3-day course, or did the half an hour, then did 3-day course, then bought into the one-to-one like mentorship.
Sorry, can I pause you there? See, when you saw that advert, did you take a lot of, like, were you like, oh, I don't know, this seems like a bit of a scam, like, kind of this, not really buying into this? I'm thinking about it from, like, the course provider's point of view.
Yeah. What
kind of leads were you? Were you somebody that needed a lot of kind of follow-up sales, like pressure? Or were you
I'm a salesman's wet dream. Like, I am one of those people that gets to the counter and is like, fuck it, like with all the chocolate. So, you know, they put the chocolate just at the counter as you're paying because they know that's where you're going to, like, buy it. I'm like a one-trick pony. You just need to say to me once, you should buy into this. And I'm like, okay.
So you signed up for that. So how much was it?
The 3-day course was 500. The mentorship all in, plus the 6-month training was 15 grand. And that's what I put my money into.
You went for the 15 grand?
I like at the end of the 3-day course, I was like, yeah, no, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
I've got the money, why would I not spend it? Yeah. Because by this point, I had already spent a fuck ton of money going to Tony Robbins events and going to network marketing massive events. And I had, by this point, my spending had turned into holidays and stuff like that for the whole time I was a single mum, was all about self-development. So I've spent so much money on conferences and learning, and because I just loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And like, I know it's still quite early days yet for you, but looking back on that, if you're looking at the kind of return on investment sort of thing, do you think it was good money well spent?
Massive, because I knew nothing about property. Like, absolutely nothing. I also
Can you not learn that from YouTube though?
Probably, but I don't have the time for that.
Take years and lots of
I don't have the time for that. Like, I need to make money fast now. So you tell me how to do it and I'll go and do it.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. Excuse me. And the one thing that I forgot to say in all of this was 5 years ago, becoming into the whole personal development thing, I saw this advert for helping people because I started following this lady called Marissa Peer. And she was all about the I am enough movement, which is essentially like, I am good enough. And all the problems that I've got right now were probably because at some point in the past, I didn't think I was good enough, usually stemmed from childhood. And I loved the way that she spoke, and she's a UK like top therapist and stuff. I had no idea it was hypnotherapy. I just saw this advert that said, come and like learn how you can become someone that's going to help people change their lives. And I lost my mum to suicide 12 years ago. So for me, it was massive that like I could help people not go through that experience. So I thought to myself, well, if I can go and help people not go through what I went through, massive achievement. So 5 years ago, I was like, I'm going to do this. So I just happened that the whole universe aligned, if you believe in all that. I got my child looked after for a week. I flew over to LA. My dad just gave me the money. I was like, hey, Dad, can I borrow this money? Can you just get this loan for me? Like, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And he was like, look, I'll just give you this money and then you can pay me back. And are you sure it's not a scam, Gemma? Because he thought everything I ever did was a scam. And then I said, I promise it's not a scam. And then I go across to LA and I come back. Not only am I vegetarian when I come back, because I've watched What the Health, and that's me. But I'm also now a hypnotherapist, trained in rapid transformational therapy, and I get straight into helping people with anxiety and depression, and I fucking love it. So that's also what I'm doing at the same time.
So you do that as well now?
So I'm a clinical hypnotherapist now, but I have done 1 or 2 sessions here and there for people, but no, I don't like actively push my sort of, I don't push for any sort of leads or anything like that now. I spent probably about 4 years doing that, but the last year I've solely focused on property. Okay. Maybe now and then I'll help somebody, but you know, it has to be like, oh, okay, I'll feel sorry for you.
Okay. Whirlwind story.
That's amazing. I mean, obviously, like, I mean, we just went right over the top of that with, you know, your mum.
My mum, yeah.
That must have had a huge impact. I mean, like, how do you recover from that? Like, and how?
So, like, I don't think you do. I think when you've lost anybody, particularly your parents or your siblings or, you know, maybe your partner, I can only speak from losing a mum. But like it's 12 years ago, so I was 27 at the time. The eldest of 4, as I've said, the youngest was 15. It threw up a whole host of shit that we all had to deal with. Like 2 of my 3 siblings are in therapy, including me. Like, I'm a big advocate for therapy. And I have weekly therapy, as do they. And we're all really cool fucking human beings now. And I really believe it's because would we have become these people had it not been for this? You know, we had chaotic childhoods, and my mum, I think the other thing that I'm conscious of is that when I say that my mum, you know, she hung herself in the garage of her home, I think that people think that she was this druggie or like alcoholic, or she had all these issues. Like, she was a normal, fantastic mum. But she also had a crazy upbringing. And it really affected her and her 2 sisters. And, you know, they've all gone on to be like different people. Like my auntie, as I said, we lost her when she was 39, so my age, of cancer. And then my mum was 51 when she died. But she was diagnosed with bipolar. But now, knowing what I know about the mind and the brain, I just feel like it was just a shit ton of unhealed trauma that she'd gone through that...
She could have been helped.
Yeah, had I known what I know now back then, I think I would have saved her. But I don't say that from like a martyr, poor me sort of way. I just say it from I wish we had the ability to have access to what we do now back then, but we just didn't. Yeah. And that's the way it is. And, you know, you've got to deal with it. And I think that the thing is, as well, is that for all of us, is that we still, to this day, like her 12-year anniversary was the 24th of May. And, you know, there are years where it's not that it doesn't affect me, it's just I'm okay, and there are other years where I'm like super emotional. And I think that it's okay. Like, it's okay that I cry sometimes. It's okay that I can talk quite confidently and openly about it now. You speak to me when I'm perimenopausal, I'll be on the deck, like not being able to cope with it. But I think it's just that you never recover, you just adapt. Yeah. You know, and it was really strange because the day that I got the phone call to say that we'd had a year where she was in and out of being sectioned and stuff like that, and it was just really horrible. Like, she was my best mate. I have got lots of friends who like are best mates with their mum, but they fall out with them or they have issues with them and stuff like that. For me and my mum, I would go and hang around at her house when I was hungover. Like, who does that? She would feed me McFlurries, and, you know, like, she would really look after me and stuff. She was a phenomenal mother, but she had these issues that she brought into our like childhood as well, and that made us, then we have to recover from those types of things. And it is absolutely horrific what had happened to her. But there's a big part of me now that thinks, was there any sort of like menopausal aspect to that? She was 51 when she died. You know, like, I'm perimenopausal now, and I'm confident that there's these feelings that, you know, as women, for the hormones that go through our body and the fluctuating changes, who knows if that had some sort of factor in her life. But in terms of recovery, it's just healing. It's trauma.
I can't even begin to understand. So, but thanks for sharing, because it's really personal stuff that you've just shared there. You know, how do you, with mental health issues and stuff like that, how do you coach your kids and deal and stuff now? Because you're a mother of 3 now, aren't you?
Yeah, so I have
There's a lot of pressures on kids these days, right? So how...
Yeah, huge.
Mental health is one of these things where I think when I grew up, back in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't, it was really glossed over, and if you were feeling depressed or something like that, I mean, my family would probably say, well, what's wrong with you? Depression? What's that?
Get on with it.
Yeah.
Dust yourself down and get fuck on with it. Go out for a walk and clear your head.
Yeah.
That will sort it out.
I'm probably still bad for that, to be fair.
Yeah. And I think we are, because we bring that with us, though.
Yeah. That was the attitudes, but with my own kids, I see it, it's like, you really need to talk openly about stuff, and
any techniques
I worry about my kids, basically what I'm saying.
How old are your kids?
So I've got 12-year-olds, very exposed to a lot of the online shit, the constant, Andrew Tate was a thing for a while.
Oh, God, really? With the 12-year-old?
Aye.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, he thought he was like, I mean, for a brief stint, and then I managed to kind of get him to watch like YouTubers who were seeing it from the other side of what he did and all the rest of it. But he thought like, Andrew Tate was the guy, and so easily influenced by people. And I'm thinking to myself, that could easily make a young person feel shit if they're not like achieving that fucking level of like driving about in a Lamborghini and all the rest of it. Like, fuck, there's so much pressures now with the online stuff. I don't even know where I'm going with that, but I
think it's about your mental health with your kids, isn't it? It's
mental health.
How do you deal with that?
The other question was, I mean, aside from the mental health, obviously, which I've changed my view on drastically because I've got kids now, very much aware of it. But like, see, with the instant, obviously, with your mum and the scenario with your mum, does that give you an extra drive in your belly as well to actually succeed and do something and pass on to your kids?
And also not go the same way. I think that, I don't believe that it's hereditary. I think it's like the trauma that you've experienced as a child, and it doesn't even need to be hugely traumatic, like a massively traumatic event. It could appear on the outside that this is a normal family, but there could be issues going on within that family that creates who you are and who you become as an adult. I do think that for me, I'm probably a slight overthinker. My partner will be like, you're a fucking massive overthinker. I overthink how I speak to every child. So I have 3 kids, so 2 are stepkids and 1 is my own. We've got an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And so 2 girls and a boy. And obviously, like, it was myself, my daughter for a long time. And then bringing the other 2 in as well has brought a whole host of different problems, because now we're co-parenting and we're a blended family, and there's all these other issues that are going on there. But when it comes to the kids' mental health, I think that we've come in as 2 separate families. Then we have the co-parents as well. So there's essentially 4 parents in these 3 kids' lives, and everybody thinks differently. So then you've got your own relationships. So myself and my partner, he might have had a difference of opinion about one thing, and then we chat about that, and then we're like, how are we going to deal with this? Social media is a massive one. I'm just like, I don't let my kid have Snapchat. She's not getting TikTok. She won't be getting social media.
What age is she?
She's 10.
I don't understand. When you say she's not getting that, I just don't know how you can do that, because it's...
But then we've got an 11-year-old who my partner shares with his ex, and she's allowed him to have X, Y, and Z. And if he was my kid, not a fucking chance.
That
but
cause issues with them, then the kid's like, well, why is he getting it?
Yeah, like my daughter is very much, she's a very literal thinking kid. So she's like, how is he getting that and I'm not? And then we have to have the conversation. I'm not his mum.
Yeah.
I can't
hats
dictate.
Off to you. If you can do that and you can succeed in protecting her from that,
as long as you can.
Hats
as
off.
long as I can, Like, I'm not saying it's going to last forever.
I wish I could sometimes, and that's with my 9-year-old daughter. I mean, she's literally, I mean, I see the benefits of it as well, right? It can be quite good fun, because my 9-year-old's like that, doing her skincare and all that routine and all the rest of it. She doesn't put it public, right? It's a private account. But it's the kind of idea behind it. She's getting in there with the mirror and all that. She's like, this is how I do my skincare and all the rest of it. She's got all the wee things that
clip that up for a social media clip.
Makeup. And then she does the dances. She absolutely loves dancing.
Yeah.
So she gets a real buzz out of that. We and her do it sometimes together. not public again.
Yeah. Soon to be found.
You need to watch her because she is dangerous with it. In fact, she goes on that bloody, because I've got this podcast TikTok account and my TikTok.
Yours, yeah.
So sometimes she'll accidentally do it on the podcast TikTok and it's fucking public to like 8,000 people when she's doing some mad dance out the street. And she's
yeah, but that's your account. Like, I would let them have a wee shot if they want to do videos and stuff, but would they get it on their own phones? No,
right?
You know, like, so they don't have their own accounts and stuff. But in the same breath, you know, there's a lot of for a while I looked into radical unschooling. Have you heard of this?
No.
Which is basically where you remove your child from the school system completely.
Right.
You either decide to teach them basic English and maths or not at all, and the whole concept of it is that they learn from life experience. They learn from
like homeschooling. You're talking.
It's homeschooling, but it's not actually any schooling.
Oh, really?
There's no sort of
education.
There's no curriculum there. There's no education happening. And I follow a woman on Instagram who's called the Sculpted Vegan, and she like does this with her kids, and they're a bit older now, and they all like have these incredible passions and. The biggest thing is like self-esteem at school, because when you go to school, you're pitted against all these other kids. And is it good for them?
I think that business model was good pre-COVID, and then everybody got locked in with kids. And then
so I love the idea of it, but actually having to teach my kid, no chance. Like, it's not happening.
I do like the idea of that, but the only thing I think that would hold me back is a social aspect of going out and playing them and making friends with our kids. I think it would hold me back, because I've had this conversation with people before that hold academic qualifications and degrees is this highest order, and I'm not that way inclined. I never have been. And I said I don't care if my daughter does go to uni. Because I believe that I can go into the room with the smartest person in the room. I'll get the deal. I'll get the best out of that opportunity, because I know how to read people more, and I'm a more people person. There's a person that's holding this academic qualification above you, going, "Oh, I've got a degree. I'm smarter than this." You won't have, you know, I think the social aspect is more important than anything else.
I think it's really hard because we're evolving so fast as humans and AI and all the rest of it. I think it's really difficult for schools to keep up. Like, I'm trying to defend schools here because they do a great job.
Because, you know, Lisa will be listening.
My wife's a teacher. But, you know, she's literally like, you know, we can't keep up. Just can't keep up.
Also,
with the way
the whole
evolving.
process of school, as far as I know, is that apparently, like, how many years ago, the only way to sit and educate kids was to plonk 30 of them in a class and teach them all the same stuff. But the problem with that is that kids are so different, and you know, especially little boys, they're pumped full of testosterone. They should be running around and going nuts and things like that, and like learning outside. And so there's the Steiner schools and things like that. There's so many arguments for just school is a one-trick pony. And it just doesn't apply to every kid, and that's why you get some kids that are dyslexic and some kids that are bad, you know, like
autism,
ADHD, like all that stuff. And then we start ploughing them with meds, and shouldn't we be looking at our environment?
I absolutely agree with you there. It's just not built for certain kids. You need to be more open to that.
And also, I think their self-esteem, like, how is that affecting them when we're putting all these kids together, and this kid is not as clever as this kid, and they automatically know, because in our school the reading groups are like foxes and bears and squirrels and things like that, but they all know the foxes are dumb as shit, and you know, the squirrels are like mega clever. They all know that. So you can fluff it up with all these different names, but the kids are not stupid. So
God, that we've obviously lost our younger listeners now, because they're like, I'm not wanting to hear about parenting. I want to know about how to make money out of property. So let's bring it back to the property stuff. What have you been doing in the property world then? Since you obviously came off your course, is that still ongoing, like the kind of mentorship thing? Or
No. So I did that, and that was really beneficial, because as I said, for me, like when I became a hypnotherapist, I needed to be shown you could learn online, but to me I was like, how can you possibly learn online? So I needed to be physically shown, this is how you put someone into hypno, like this is how you physically do it. So you take me and show me something, and I'm like, oh, I've got it, like it's logged in my brain. If you teach it to me as in like just chat to me, I'm like, oh God, this is boring. So I chose to go for the option where you get taken around. And the thing for me is, like, I hear what you're saying about the property. I understand the refinancing. I understand when you buy it, you make money when you buy because you get it cheaper, etc., etc. But how do I have that conversation with someone, like you said, the social aspect? How do I go and speak to an estate agent, and how do I get them on my side and make friends with them without them seeing through me? Like that, I want to watch someone who's really good at this go and do it. And I think you might have you had Jordan Kynoch on your pod? So that was my mentor.
Nice.
Right.
So he took me around and we went around like Ayrshire. And so obviously came down from Aberdeen and I followed him around. I watched how he did it. He showed me like how he does things with his like when he'll go into a property, he'll take a photo before he goes in and then takes photos all around and then takes a photo as he's leaving. So because his camera roll is getting so full of all these photos of when he's doing all these viewings, this is how you differentiate between one flat to another. So like tiny little things like that, you just, yes, you can like learn it in education, but actually getting shown it, now that's what I do. So it was all those little things for me and being able to build up a relationship and stuff. So on the back of that mentorship, I got one bed flat, put an offer in that day and then put an offer in for a 3-bed house, both in Kilmarnock, just not far from each other.
Right.
Got them both, or renegotiated, excuse me, I think for the house, got them both, got the keys for them both on the exact same day. At the same time, so I'm doing this 3-bed house to do it up and like flip it, sell it on. The other one was going to be a buy-to-let. This 1-bed flat was going to be a buy-to-let. So then I got introduced through, I think it was Jill Green, I think. Yeah. I got introduced to her brother, I want to say, and then they did refurbs and stuff, so I connected with those guys. At the same time, randomly, didn't mean to get this, it wasn't supposed to come to me, but I inherited a house.
Right.
So Fauquhams, have you heard of Fauquhams?
Aye.
So up in Fauquhams, my granddad had a 5-bed house, and we've got a lot of death in our family, and we had 3 people die all within like I think it was like an 18-month period. So absolutely randomly, I ended up getting this house. Beautiful house, and I think it's like
split between your brothers and sisters, or
no,
not?
just me,
right,
because my other brother, he got another house, and the other 2, even though they are blood related, they weren't really recognised yet. It's super complicated.
So, anyway,
we'd be here for days.
So you're the sole beneficiary.
Yeah, so I get this house and I'm like, what am I going to do with it? Oh, I'll live in it for a little bit. I'll go and then I moved there for 6 weeks, but just days before I'd left, I met my partner. Well, the boy who became my partner. So
what year was this? Just
2021.
A lot happened in 2021.
Yeah, a lot happened. So
probably a lot. There's still a lot to go between
2021 and 2022. It's a snippet. So I met him 2 days before I was due to move. I lived 2 doors down from him. You were going
to move to this house in Fauquhams?
Yeah. So in Aberdeen, I lived 2 doors down from him, and but I didn't know him. And then I was moving, and then 6 weeks before I moved, I met him.
How did you meet him?
Through a friend. So my best friend's son and his son are best mates. Right, okay. And we were at his birthday party. And that's how we met, at this party. So that was 6 weeks prior to me moving. And then I moved, and then I was like, I'm going to have to go back now. But because this was like a family house and stuff like that, I moved back to make sure that my daughter didn't actually leave school. She stayed in the same school and stuff. So we moved back to the same estate. So I was like, right, okay, I'm not going to live there anymore. It's a 5-bed house. I'm going to Airbnb it. So I did it up. So I started doing the renovation. At the same time, I started doing the flat and the 3-bed house in Kilmarnock. So there's 3 going on at the same time, and I knew jack shit at this point. And I really learned a load of lessons, because
everything all at once.
Yeah, everything went wrong with the house.
Can you share some lessons just quickly for the listeners?
So I think that I was a bit, again, I did use investors. It was my dad. Right. I did go to my dad because he had money. So I went to my dad and said, look, and I gave him the spiel, and I was super nervous, and I was like, I was doing everything I was taught to do in the education about how to explain, you'll get this ROI and, all this sort of stuff. I explained everything to him. And so he lent me the money to go and do these flats and this house.
Buying them cash?
Yes. Yeah. So bought them cash. And then, but what happened was, with the house in particular, it had a flat roof. And there was just all these things wrong. So this house had never been touched for 10 years at least, because the landlord had rented it out to the guy who never let her in. So for like 10 years, she'd never seen inside this house. There was an urn in there with some dead ashes. Like there was like all sorts of crazy stuff, like swirly carpets. And I just didn't really appreciate like how much it was going to be. So I think I put it down as a 15 grand refurb.
What did it turn out to be?
It's 32.
All right.
32, 33, something like that.
That's quite a bit over budget.
What
was the result of that one then?
So I actually end up really lucking out because
COVID bumped the prices.
Well, it was just before I sold it in November 2022.
This is Kilmarnock.
Kilmarnock, yeah. So I sold it just before, like, there was some sort of crisis about to happen. I think it was the mortgage crisis. It could have been November 2022.
Liz Truss's
mini budget October 2022.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, nobody's going to get a mortgage. Like, everybody's going to start freaking out. I'm never going to be able to sell this place. And I remember saying to my boyfriend, it's going to have to be a cash buyer. Like, it's going to be a cash buyer. And I am massively into this whole, put this out into the universe and it'll come back to you. So I said to him, we're going to sell this. I'm going to sell this as a cash buyer. And right enough, about a week later, I got a phone call. It's a cash buyer. They want to give you, so I bought it for 128,500, put in whatever the refurb was, like 30 odd, and then sold it for like 190.
Brilliant.
I think it was, yeah.
Fantastic.
So home report was 175, I think, and then
Success.
190. So I was so lucky.
That's fantastic. And like, weird that you're obviously living up in Aberdeen, but you've bought in Kilmarnock. So how did that come about?
So the education, they taught you that you need to go where the money is.
Right.
And I had no idea that there was money in Aberdeen. I was scared of Aberdeen. I'm originally from Elgin, so I was well aware of the oil and, the sort of like the downturn and and to me, Aberdeen was too fluid. Until I came across you lot. I just was totally shit scared of Aberdeen. And that's why I ended up going down to there. But the reason I never continued down there is because it's a 7-hour return trip. Now, when you've got kids that you need to get back for, like at 3 p.m.
You can't make that from the school.
No. So I would put her into after school club and then I would leave. So I'd get someone else to take her to school. I would leave, get down there. I'd have an hour and a half to 2 hours to do some work, whatever I needed to do, which is usually just like scurrying around for the two places and then get back.
So see if you look at the time that you put into that project and then you split down the kind of hourly rate on the profit.
It wasn't a lot.
No, it was a good experience, right? And it was success and you learnt a lot.
Yeah, hugely.
You learnt a lot.
Yeah. How did the 1-bedroom flat go at the same time?
So that did well. Like I think I went over 2 or 3 grand over the budget. But again, I think it's because I didn't really know what I was doing. But not to put anybody off who is just starting in property, I think it was, you're right, like, what I maybe never made monetary value, I hugely gained experience, knowledge, how to speak to trades, all the mistakes that I made and how I didn't speak to them.
Imagine if you didn't get any education and you didn't really buy right in the first place and then you made these mistakes.
I know.
Money.
Yeah.
Like,
it was baffling to me. Like I was always going to be I have no problem asking people for money. That I know that's most people's issues. Like when it comes to investors, asking angel investors, like, can you give me this amount of cash? I used to ask people for £200 to start their business. And now I'm asking for £200,000. So it's slightly different, but it's still the same concept.
Education, the education didn't work that great if you went 15 grand over budget.
Yeah, it wasn't really great. I think it was.
Think there was a section on refurb costing.
I hope you do a bit on refurbs in your course, mate.
A lot better. But to be fair as well, I think it's my personality. I'm not.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, no, but it's a good point though, because like my personality is like my partner's. I call him a tight arse. And he is the yin to my yang. Like he's very much needed in our business now. So now he's come into the business with me.
Brilliant.
But I need him because he draws me back in. And I'm the sort of one that will fuck it. Like, let's just buy that. I get caught up. So he's the one that's like, no, we've got to pull you back in and let's rein you in sort of thing. Because I think that for me, I was just like, I'll make the money back. But I probably will get bitten by this at some point, but my thing is like, it'll always work out, and it did. Like it was always okay.
You've just got a kind of go for it attitude, haven't you? You're an action taker. I can see
probably a bit too much.
I can tell. We meet a lot of people doing this.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Role in the podcast and the networking as well, and you kind of just get within the first few minutes of talking to somebody, you just kind of know whether we're going to go. Going to be able to do it. You'll see that in the education as well.
Yeah. This is going on to the SA house is why I wanted to chat on it as well, because this is a fantastic result on this one. So you had the 1-bed flat in Kilmarnock, the 3-bed house that was sold, and this 5-bed SA, which is phenomenal. You should see this.
Was that your grandfather's?
Yeah, so it was my granny Linda and my granddad's house.
Right.
And then spend on the renovation because it's a fucking cracking renovation.
So
can we see that on Instagram? Is that on social medias at all?
It's I can give you the Airbnb link.
Show the Airbnb link.
So that people can have a look.
What, right now?
No, just when they're
after,
listening.
yeah. So it's, I think it's the Airbnb is under Green Acres Fochabers, if you look for that. Fochabers, it's Fochabers,
Not
because some people were like, Fochabers? What was that? But I'm also on Instagram.
Fochabers? What's Fochabers well known for? Or what's the attraction there for the Airbnb?
Whiskey. So there's whiskey, golf. We're like literally a little village in the centre of all of that. So it's whiskey is a huge industry up there. The golf, the fishing. So like it's all massive. But we do have a company called Scott B&B, like Airbnb, which is on Instagram as Scott B&B, where I need to be better on Instagram, but like showcase some of the things there. But Airbnb is probably where you're going to see it, and then eventually we will have Scott B&B as a website. So
when you planned the refurb for this place, what was when you done your market research on end users, the whiskey, the fishing, the golf, who was your end target audience? Did you find a niche in the market? Did you try and appeal to a certain demographics?
So for me, what I was really interested with is groups. So that would include fishing, that would include golfers, all that sort of stuff, families, hens, stags. I know it seems a bit weird that it's a tiny little village and hens and stags, why would they go there? But it's massive. Like, at the end of the day, it's a hot tub. It's a 5-bed that sleeps 12 people. So because it's so big and it's secluded, it's really, really busy.
Perfect,
and it's great for families. So like we've been there for Christmas where we were taking 2 or 3 families into this house that's got bunk beds and, twin rooms and all that sort of stuff and a couple of bathrooms. So because of that, we accept dogs. It's got huge like grass grounds. And my brother got married there. We had a big wedding there and stuff. So because it's got it appeals to everybody.
Yeah.
So our end users, pretty much everyone, because you've got your people who want quiet. You've got your people who want like a party, but it's still, as long as they're inside the house, it's fine. So it's just an absolute all-rounder.
How long's that been going now?
I think it was August 2022.
Right.
Is when I started.
What's your kind of like? What do you sell for? I mean, obviously it varies in terms of the dates, in terms of the calendar. But what would be your most kind of for a week or so? I take it you do like
a week,
like occupancy rate.
No, it's nightly rate I'm talking about.
£500. So I'm usually I'm £500 during the week on a normal weekday, and then £600 for Friday, Saturday, Sunday night.
Okay.
Minimum 2 nights stay. That's including the hot tub.
Yeah.
So there's no like extra charge or anything like that. And then I take it down a little bit, maybe if it's a quieter period of time, like November is always the quietest month. So in November, we're usually booked out every weekend, but not during the week. And then I make it less, like maybe, if it's like workers, I'll make it a bit less if they're going to be there continuously. So it just all depends. But this year has been absolutely non-stop. And I think I was saying to yourself that in April, we net profited 11 grand.
That's after all expenses.
Everything paid, yeah.
That's insane, eh?
After you take your £15 an hour cleaning rate as well. You're transferring those skills from the oil rig days, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly,
and doing cleaning out the hot tubs.
Yeah, I'm not great at that either.
I'm not kidding. Bloody hell, that's some serious...
Yeah, that's April. Like, obviously there's a lot lower months than that. But then just to give people perspective, then the following month the septic tank will go to shit, and then I have to pay literally shit. Yeah. Then I have to pay £3.5 grand.
That's not a pleasant job either.
No. So it's an older style of house. So there's there's a lot. There's a lot of issues.
Quite rural.
So Fochabers itself is like a small little village, but it's in between Elgin and it's basically right smack bang in between Inverness and Aberdeen.
Okay, we'll get a look at it. I'll have a look at it later.
Some cracking roads up that way.
So
like
have you got? So is that giving you the appetite then for more service accommodation?
She's hungry now.
Yeah.
What about all the licensing and all that? Is that cool with you?
So when I first heard about it, I was like, oh my God, and I didn't really understand it. And my sort of head is, I'm a last minute person. Like, I'm speaking tomorrow, I've still not properly written what I'm saying. Like, this is what I'm doing after. So I'm a last minute. Are you the same?
I'm doing it tonight.
Yeah, I'm literally, because my boyfriend's like, what are you going to do the rest of the day? And I was like, write my speech.
Presentation.
Yeah, like remember stuff. So I'm a last minute person. And I had heard people speak on podcasts and saying, we're getting prepped for it now. And I was like, fuck that. Like, I'll just do it closer to the time. Regretted that. Because then I had to add things in after. So it's now up and running and it's been successful and stuff. And then I've got to add an emergency lighting because I didn't realise that's got to happen.
This is for the licence.
For licensing.
What council are you dealing with up there? Murray?
Murrayshire. So that's for them. Now, I applied for my licence at the very tail end of September, the last day that I could. Applied for the licence and I have still not heard from them. and we're now in May.
But as long as you've applied for it, you can still operate.
And then we've got one in Aberdeen now, so we bought a flat to do up there, and we've got that a way to go up and running, and applied for the licence.
You didn't have great experience. You tried serviced accommodation in Aberdeen, didn't you? It didn't really work for you.
It's just the up and down for me. I prefer the scale and
but I have found it really profitable there as well. Yep,
that's good.
And the licensing far easier. So
in Aberdeen?
Applied for the licence, heard from them the next day.
Wow.
Like, incredible the difference. It's just, and the bottom line is, I understand why it's there. I think the way they've gone about it is really awful and terrible, and I think some of these people who've been in business for years and years and years are now just getting put out is horrendous. I do get that it needs to be regulated, for sure, because you don't want any Tom, Dick and Harry just getting people there. People who stay in our houses need to be safe. End of story. But could they have done it in a different way? Because I think England is a register. It's not a licensing. It's not a yes or a no. It's just a registration. So as long as you've got all these things, then you're on the register, as far as I know. And other places have done that similar. Probably could have benefited more from that. As long as we're making sure that they're safe, there's smoke alarms and they're looked after and they're not going to die. We're good.
And then you'll get the people that will say, oh well, like she's taking a home out of the community, like that should be somebody's home.
Yeah, nobody's buying homes in Aberdeen South though. So.
Do you know what I mean? But then look at what you're contributing to the local economy.
Exactly.
You're bringing in people who are spending in other people's businesses, which has a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
So like I get their argument for these kind of small rural communities up in the Highlands and all that. A big part of the problem is that these homes that are getting taken up for Airbnb and short-term lets, their argument is that we can't keep the young people, we can't get the staff to work in the businesses because we don't have houses for them, and they've been taken up. That's kind of like, but I also see the benefit as well that you're providing a local economy.
Like we've had so many people come and stay there from America or from Sweden or like all over the place, and we're getting like 2-week bookings from people in America and stuff like that, and they're coming back to Aberdeen to see people. There's an Australian person coming next month, and I think, like, where would they have gone if stuff like that wasn't available?
There's definitely there's a demand for it and a need for it, and people want that sort of accommodation.
Yeah. But it has to be done well.
Your one looks cracking.
If you looked at these pods they're in, no.
I've looked into that.
Pods,
so I've actually looked into that because we've got the grounds in Fauquhurst to do it, but I just can't be arsed at the minute. It's not appealing to me right now, but I did see there's the glamping thing, and I thought that would be so good to learn from, but I know if I go and do that, tomorrow I'll be buying one.
So phenomenal. Yeah, it had me looking at land all night.
Did it actually? Yeah.
What is this you're talking about, sir?
So one of the guys in the group, I'm going to get on the podcast, is away on holiday.
Right.
Thomas, he's went and got a glamping site down in Ayrshire, Cooley Retreats.
Right, okay, we'll need to get him on there.
Yeah, I follow him.
Come on and share it all about it. It's phenomenal.
Future guest. Yeah. Right, we better watch the time, guys. Is there anything else we need to cover before we wrap up?
We're just touching on the Aberdeen SA, how that was going. How would you systemize that? And are you looking to scale up and grow that side of the business?
Yeah, 100%. So as I said, like that house that I looked at 2 days ago, it's a 6-bed, and I feel like that is where there's really good profit there to be made, and I love the aspect. There's 2 things I love. One, the sales side of it. So I've always had like a salesy sort of background. The thing I love the most is when Airbnb or booking.com pings on my phone and I've got a booking. I'm like,
you see money coming in.
Yeah, it's the money aspect, and it's also somebody has seen the value in what I've created. Like that, I really, really like that aspect.
Are you managing it?
At the minute, yeah. So obviously I've only got
That's
2 right now. Yeah, it is, but it's not as time consuming.
It's all
right. Yeah.
By the way, talking about the rich, you started off the podcast by saying, you're motivated by money and getting rich.
Yeah.
What is it? Have you got a figure in your head that you want to get to where you're like, pressure's off, I can maintain a good lifestyle? Obviously you're a big spender. So
I'm a big spender. So I think 20 grand a month.
Yeah.
As in like consistently 20k a month was coming in. So we're fluctuating up and down above that. That's fine. But 20 grand a month for me is me being able to retire my partner. He would then come full-time into the business. We can then go on holiday as much times as we want. We can choose how to live our lives. Yeah. But a really big thing for me is that as I grow older and make more money, I can never say this word, philanthropy.
Yeah.
Is that the word?
Yeah.
I love helping other people. And you probably is a little bit of a you know, you get pleasure out of helping other people. But there's nothing I love more than being able to make a difference in someone's life, being able to hand on advice, or, you know, like even when I'm out on a night out, if I see a homeless person, I'm giving them 20 quid and just their like smile and a thank you and it's cheesy as fuck, but I just think that money will do and give you all that stuff, but being able to give back once I'm earning shitloads of money, and then I'm able to give back and help other people, and perhaps like have the time to volunteer and teach my kids.
Because people often want to give before they're in a position to give.
Yeah.
You know, they've got that, I want to be a fucking tree hugger, but you don't make any money. Like, so why don't you grow a business, grow assets,
make shitloads of money first,
and then go, let me try and give back. Because people look at you, maybe listen to your first statement and going, oh, she just wants fucking money. Oh, typical of these property investors and what. Like, no, we want to do good in the world and give people good home accommodation and good homes and give back.
Yeah, like I've got a flat in Aberdeen that we rent out. I'm glad you finished
with that. I'm glad you said that, because I was like, originally I was just saying, geez, oh man, she's just talking about getting rich and making loads of money.
What kind she is.
I'm glad you finished on that note.
Yeah, I probably should have like said a little bit more about that, but I think that there's too many people are scared to say that about money. What's wrong with wanting money? That's
why it's been a great interview, and that's why it's been a great chat, because you've been absolutely brutally honest. And, you know, too many people, like you say, they go into property and they feel like they can't say it. So what they do say is, I want to provide great homes for people and I want to help people. And you know, you're in it to fucking make money.
Yeah. You know why else would you do it? It's bloody hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why else would you do it?
You can do that as well, provide good homes and all the rest of it, but don't make that your number one. Do you know what I mean?
That's not going to keep you going in the harder times. You know, like it's ultimately what you can do with that money. But I don't think there's anything wrong with saying to people, I want to make money. The reasons why I want to make money was everything that I just said, and way more if we had more time. But ultimately, like, when you have a lot of money, you can do so much good things in the world. Like, why would everybody not want to aspire to that? I feel, you know, like,
absolutely
got to make some cash.
Good way to end it. That's a great way to end it. Let's wrap it up.
What a selfish cow.
If you want to hear more from Gemma, she'll be appearing at the Aberdeen Scottish Property Podcast Networking event, first Wednesday of the month. You're now part of the hosting team, so brilliant. Yourself and Trish.
Yep.
Great wee event up there. It's got to be said. There's always a decent.
We'll see you there.
Aye.
See you there, Nick.
Everyone always tries. Maybe if you invite him up for a co-host on the spot, he might come up for it.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant, guys. Thanks very much for
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.